Hello. Have you ever been in an uncomfortable situation? Have you ever dated your boss? Have you ever had a situation where you felt that the company was targeting you for a dating relationship? Hello, Professor VJ here. Uh, I'm going to talk about this topic. Sherronne Moore, everyone, it seems, in the world is talking about this topic. It's widely publicized on all social platforms, all major news media, literally across the world. So I wanted to come from an employer perspective, what I think companies can do differently. Again, this is from my many years in HR, working in high profile investigations into allegations of misconduct by senior leadership. Many companies nowadays, because of this situation, have romance policies in place, no dating inside of the workplace. In the military, we call it no fraternization in the workplace. But it's very important, if you, and again, please listen, anyone that aspires to be a manager, anyone who is currently in a manager, who does not want him or herself to get into a situation like Mr. Moore, please use discipline and restraint in the workplace. I know. We spend many hours at the workplace. It is our second home. There's some, terms of endearment, husband, wife, not husband, wife, I'm so sorry, work wife, work husband, all that stuff that you hear. It's not cool. It's not cool because your actions in the workplace affect people within the workplace. And if you're married, if you're in a significant relationship, if you're in a dating relationship, you have children, you see what has happened in Mr. Moore's case. The whole world knows about his personal business, and that should never happen. Again, this is a general conversation for education and training purposes only. I am using Mr. Moore as an example of things that you should and should not do in the workplace. We all know that human nature, we like people, we work very closely with them, but as you know, if you've listened to any of my videos, I'm very fair. Sometimes the blame is on the employee, sometimes it's the company, sometimes it's the company culture, and sometimes it's all of the above. In this case, again, this is my opinion for education training purposes only. From what I've read, the videos I've seen, that their relationship was widely known for years. People that live in that area in Auburn, they've come forward. It was kind of like the open secret, if you will, that they have been dating. Mr. Moore is married. Miss Shivers, I'm not sure if she's married or not, but it doesn't matter. She is his subordinate, or was. If you are a manager, and a lot of people are saying, why were they both not fired? The way the law works, and again, we have to get into employment labor law. If you are in a position of leadership, there is a higher responsibility. I have done many videos on failure of leadership, holding leaders accountable at all levels, in all industries, in all capacities. If you aspire to be a leader, you have to know that what you do matters. I've talked about reputational risk. Companies, especially big companies, this is University of Michigan, the football team, but it's the university. It's a department within that university. There is a reputational risk to that university right now. What you do as a leader affects the company. If you're in a corporate America, it affects your stock prices. When scandals happen, we saw the Coldplay situation, how that played out. Two senior leaders, and one was an HR executive. So people misbehave every day in the workplace. I've done small investigations at lower levels. I've done them at the C-suite level. People are always going to be people. That is one common denominator in the workplace. Wherever there's people, there's going to be problems. There's a little saying in HR, it's going to be 20% of the population that's going to cause 80% of the problems, and that holds true. I've worked in different companies, different industries. 20% of the people in your workplace will cause 80% of the problems. So 80% of the people never even deal with HR. So that's why I say, don't let one isolated incident that you have with HR paint the whole department as bad or ineffective, or always on the manager's side. I hear that so much, but I've talked about that. I try to be fair to the best of my ability, humanly possible. We all come with our experiences, our backgrounds, and that kind of thing. But for the most part, in this case specifically, there needs to be, in which I'm sure there have been discussions behind closed doors, what should happen in a case like this. Risk management is involved, because there are possibility of lawsuits. The employee who was terminated, wrongful termination, harassment, and then subsequently Mr. Moore was arrested. So he has a lot of issues, multiple issues that he's dealing with, from a personal, from a criminal, from his family, from his job status. So that begs the question, if they were dating, again, allegedly, everything we say is for education and training purposes only, if it was the open secret in the company, and even the people that lived in that town were well aware of it because they're coming forth, I've seen many videos that they said everyone knew they were dating because of ego and arrogance. That's my personal opinion. When you have a senior, and I've seen this in senior leadership, you get too comfortable in your position. You get too comfortable in your position. As a leader, I'm in a parking lot, that's why I'm looking around for safety reasons. You have a higher responsibility to always uphold yourself in the highest form in terms of code of conduct, because guess what? You put your company at risk for lawsuits, for lowering the stock prices if it's a publicly held company, reputational risk. It could also affect brand deals. Especially in the athletic world, brand deals may not want to deal with a company that does not hold their leaders accountable. Think about that. If you are a brand, if you are, let's say, just an example, Nike or Adidas, do you want your brand associated with this type of scandal? I don't think so. I don't think your brand would want, your product being pitched by, someone that has involved himself in all of these egregious behaviors, because it shows a lack of judgment. It shows a lack of leadership. To the employee, I'm sorry that happened to you. So those that are questioning why she was not terminated, because she was a subordinate. It was his responsibility as the leader, as the coach, as the senior person on that team, that department, to uphold himself at the highest level of whatever the code of conduct. I'm sure there was a morality clause in many environments. Depends on the industry. There are morality clauses. If you sign a contract, if you violate those, the company can move to termination immediately. And I'm sure that's what happened here. And subsequently to his termination, because HR goes in and does an investigation, and there may be some other things that may be unveiled as a result of this situation. Hopefully, this is my hope for the company, that they will go in and look at their policies and procedures. How should things like this be handled before? Do you have an ethics hotline? Do you have an anonymous hotline? I don't know anything about this university, but again, just for those that are listening that have small businesses, that have businesses, you have always protect your business, protect your employees. And again, that's a fine balance, and HR is a part of that process. So companies, be careful of company culture that you allow, that you tolerate, that you dismiss, because if this had been going on for years, it should have been stopped long before. She should have been moved. He should have been moved. They should not have been working together once it was disclosed that and again, there's a huge age difference. That's another factor. But more importantly, he has a family. She has a family. Now there's so many entities that are affected by their behavior. Again, they were both engaged in this behavior. She knew better. She was an adult. He knew better as a leader. They both should have done something differently. And again, but at the end of the day, legally speaking, contractually speaking, he was the senior leader. The higher responsibility is on him, not on her. For her, it's more of a morality. I don't know if she was married at the time that this started or subsequent to it. He has a family, he has children. So everybody, you see how one action can affect multiple people: his parents, her parents, his grandparents, her grandparents, his community, her community, his neighbors, her neighbors. Be careful of your actions in the workplace, because guess what? What's done in the dark will always come to light. Again, Professor BJ, have a great day. I would love to hear your feedback. What are your thoughts?